Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to create your own soap label that looks sleek and professional and doesn't have to take you a week to get it done. If you're like me and you feel a little graphic design challenged, I always feel like anything I create, if I'm starting from scratch and I'm literally creating every piece of it, I feel like in the end I feel like it looks dumb. So I need help getting started, and I need to know that I'm on the right track before I invest a bunch of time in this project that in the end I'm just going to feel like it looks dumb. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with your soap label so that you know you have all the right pieces, you've got them all in the right place, and so that you're not creating something that in the end you're going to feel like just looks dumb. So grab your coffee, and I'm not kidding this time. This one might take a little bit of extra fortitude. So grab what you need, and let's dive into creating your soap label for your soaps. Okay, everyone, let's take a look at getting your soap label designed in a professional and sleek way, and actually in a way that moves very quickly. So we're going to go to Etsy.com. And if you'll see on the screen here, that's where I am. Just type in Etsy.com. If you've been there before and you have an account there, just log into your account. If you've never visited Etsy before, take a minute to look around. There's a lot of fun things here. Etsy is a website for makers to sell things. So there are a lot of fun things here that are made by other people that are just kind of fun to look through. But Etsy, although you can buy jewelry and obviously like bar stools and bookshelves and different things like that, you can also purchase soap label templates. And that's what I want you to do here. After you're logged in and everything, search for anything, put in here the words soap label template, and then hit the search button or the enter button on your keyboard, and let's see what it brings up. So here is, here you can see I've put in those search terms and hit enter, and now it has brought up a whole host of different soap label templates. Now, if you look, these are not expensive. I think the most expensive one I've seen here is $4. This one that's more expensive, that's a whole bunch of things. So that's just a little bit more. But for the most part, it looks like you could get it for as cheap as what, $1.72 there. I think I saw one that was even cheaper than that. So this is not going to be an expensive purchase. But what we're doing is we're buying this template. And you can see here in this little demonstration, like they're going through and editing that template so that it has your information, because it doesn't do you any good to buy this, this one that says business name and scent name and different things. You're going to need to be able to edit this file so that it can be edited in Canva. We're going to get to that in just a minute. But for the most part, you can kind of scroll through here and look at getting a bunch of ideas on what a soap label could look like. There you can see in this one here, they're working on doing some editing there in Canva, it looks like. So, but you can get some ideas of what could be on a soap label. You could have, on this one, you could have your business name kind of arced like that. You can have kind of a scripty font. You can have some little PDF doodads in there, or not PDF, but like little graphic doodads in there. So, or it can be very, very simple. Look at this. This one is so, so simple. So choose a template that really like grabs you, that strikes you, that jumps out at you and says, "Oh yes, this is what I want not only my soaps to look like, but this is what I want my business to look like. This is something that I'm excited to have on my products." So I'm going to scroll back up here to the top, and we're going to purchase this one that says cherry almond. And we're going to purchase that one and then see what happens next. Again, this is $1.77. They're on sale. They're 50% off. So for less than $2, we're going to have this label, and we can get started on your soap labels. So here I am now. I've made my purchase. You're going to need to, you have to put in your credit card to pay your $1.72, but that's not a huge deal. And now you can see, like, thanks for your order. And we've got a couple things here. I'm going to view the details of my order here because we purchased this template. This is a digital product. Somebody made it, but it's a digital product. So nobody's sending you a piece of paper in the mail. Nobody's sending you soap labels. You're going to need to work with this digital template in Canva to make your soap labels. So let's view the details here. Here we are. So now here is, it shows that I purchased this template and I can download it now. So here's the download button. Let's just go ahead and click that. And you can see that it went right up here into my downloads. Remember where that is. We're going to use that in just a second. Okay. We've purchased our template, and we have downloaded it. So let me just check something over here a minute. Hmm. There's always something extra that pops up that you want to just check out here a minute. Okay, let's move ahead. So now you are going to need to work with this label in Canva. So go to canva.com. Here we are. And if again, this is a free tool online, so you don't have to pay anything for it. You can just work in the free version, and that's totally fine. But you are going to need to have an account at canva.com. So make sure that you have done that and you're able to get in, and you probably have to create some login stuff, but that's just so it can keep all your stuff in one place and keep track of your projects as you work through creating them. So now we're going to go back to this downloads thing and click on that so I can see the files that I've downloaded recently. And we're going to take this, I'm clicking on this and dragging it over here onto the Canva screen. And that's all you have to do. So now we're just going to let it download that file that we purchased on Etsy. And then we'll see what happens here. You always have to wait for the little blue bar to crawl across. But it's literally that simple to move your file into Canva. Something else to remember as we're waiting for this blue bar to crawl across is that no matter what file you purchase on Etsy, you need to be very sure that you have checked all of the you've checked all of the information. If you have watched our previous video here, that our previous video on YouTube about the soap labels and all the information that is required to have on the soap labels legally. There's also a little bit about how big the font needs to be. You need to, if you've not watched that video yet, the link is above me now. Go back and watch that because you're going to need to change these templates no matter which one you choose. Just because the graphic designers there are able to create a lovely soap label, it doesn't mean that it's compliant with the regulations for soap labels. So make sure you go through every bit of that label and check to make sure your O's are big enough, depending on what part of the label we're in, and that everything's in the right place. So do you need to go through, you're the editor now, go through and make sure that they've got all the pieces, that they're the right size, and make those adjustments first. Because some of the things on your soap label might look a little out of proportion once you get that net weight and your ingredients list big enough. So just make those changes first. So this is the first screen that popped up when I downloaded that file from Etsy. And if you scroll, this popped up in Adobe Acrobat. And you'll see like the label isn't here, but on that first page, it says, "Thank you for purchasing our product. Click on the link below to download your file." And if you click on here, it's like you're acknowledging that there's some kind of permissions here that you're acknowledging. And then it brought up the screen in Canva that says, "Here's your purchase. Would you like to start editing your template?" And then I just clicked yes, and then it brought the template up in Canva. So there was one extra little step involving clicking this button, but that wasn't hard to navigate. You just have to know to do that. So now let's switch over to the file now that is up in Canva. And this is the soap label template that we purchased. Now you'll see there's a few different options here. This is the label that I will probably use, but you can see that there are some other options here. Some other ways to present that back piece of the label. You can also print it so that, like you're printing on this other kind of paper. I don't know if it probably prints that brown as well. If you're printing on white paper so that it looks like that kind of cardstock kind of look, or there's an off-white, or there's a black. You can choose whichever one appeals to you the most and just go with that. Now, there is one thing, I'm going to scroll back up to the top here if it will let me. Just a second. There we go. Okay. So I like this top label the best. And I was looking at this one initially because I thought this back label is really fun. It's just a different way to bring attention to the different pieces of the label. The ingredients are there, like just all of these things. It's a really fun way to present that. But if you will look at this back piece, it is missing a very key piece of information that's part of the legally required information on a soap label. It is missing the contact information, the name and address of the person who has made the soap. Now, I suppose that what they're saying here is, well, that information is available on this website, so we've just put the website there. And I'm not sure that that's actually legal. If anybody knows that for sure, you can comment below this video and let me know. But but my understanding is you need to actually have the contact information for the person who made the soap. Now, if you look up here, this doesn't really have it either, but we can put it there, and that will work. That will work as well. Now, one other thing that I'm leery of is I'm going to bet that that O is not big enough. So then these boxes are going to be a little bit harder to work in because we have to make sure that O is a 16th of an inch tall. And I'm going to bet that it is not in this format. So I'm gonna work with this label. It feels like there's a little bit more flexibility with making things the size that they need to be. The ingredients already look like they're probably big enough, and I feel like the rest of it is workable. So we're gonna work with this top label here. Now, let me go back to my list here, make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in here. So and everything on this little block here is editable. So let's go in here where it says business name, and let's say this is Twin Pines Soap. Let's just say that's your business name. And we're making cherry almond soap. So, well, no, let's change that. Let's not make cherry almond. Let's make Midnight Waters. All right, now, because I've changed the name, this little piece is too close. So I'm just going to click it and drag it over a little bit. And those little red lines show up to help me get it so it's the same height as this box, or maybe it's centered somewhere else. So you can kind of mess around with those. Handcrafted soap. True. But I want to say something else about this because mine is goat milk soap. Remember that soap, that word has to be on the front so that you've identified it as soap and not cheese or a lotion bar or whatever. All right. So I don't believe cold pressed is actually a soap term. So we're going to get rid of all of this. We'll just leave that blank. I don't need that box at all. And now 15 ounces. Wow, a 15-ounce soap. That's huge. Well, and also untrue about my soaps. So we're gonna back this up and call this 4.8 ounces. Or oh boy, you'd have to do the math here. It's something like that. 139 grams. I don't think we need that. We'll just leave the G. Okay, now when I print this off, I need to check that O and make sure it's big enough, but that would be the correct information. Now, I'm not sure what this little guy does. Maybe that's just a graphic. If that's just a graphic, we'll kind of drag it in here to be more part of that first block. All right, now let's look at the second. This is going to be now on the back of your soap. Oh, I kind of like this with the business name on the side too. That's kind of fun. If you want to, I mean, if you bought this one, you could mess around with that, but I kind of like that too. Okay. Haha. Like I said, you're going to need to look through every bit of this label because just because people are good at graphic design does not mean they know anything about soap labels. What's the first ingredients? Cherry. Really? If you've made any soap at all, you know that there you can't put cherries in soap. Nope, that's not gonna work. And if you only make it out of almond oil, boy, you're gonna have some interesting soap. So we're gonna get rid of all of this. We're gonna put actual ingredients that make sense to soap makers. So my first ingredient is olive oil. Then I have coconut oil, palm oil, goat milk, and lye. There we go. Oh, and then I also have a fragrance here, so we need to claim that fragrance. And then we usually just put colorants if there are colorants in your soap. If there's not, then don't put that there. But we just kind of lump them all together in one. Now I'm not going to claim any of this. If I mean that would be up to you. You could put them there if you wanted to, but we're just going to get rid of all that. And then let's see. Can I? Oh yeah, I can move the little line up. This how to use section is interesting. Wash your face with warm water and a facial cleanser that's suitable for your skin type. Splash cold water in your face and pat it dry with a soft towel. Well, that I suppose that works if this was a facial cleanser bar, but I think you would want to say that differently because that's making some assumptions about what this soap is used for. You could use this how to use section, or because I feel like this is going to be too small, I'm just going to get rid of it. So I'm going to get rid of that box altogether. There we go. And now we'll move this up. All right. Connect with us. And I don't know. This is always a bit of a question, like what information do you put back here? Having your website on here is a great idea. I would be really hesitant to put my phone number though. So I'm just going to put my name. And this can be your business name too. That's fine. And then I'm going to put my address. Whoops. I'm going to spell it right. And my city, state, and zip code. And then maybe I'll just leave it like that. Then over here, join the tribe. Um, these are these are difficult because on a website you could click on this and it would go to your Facebook page, or here it would go to your what is that? Pinterest? No, that's Pinterest. This is Instagram. So, but on a soap label, if you have these icons, they're not clickable because it's printed on a piece of paper and you haven't identified what your Facebook account is. So I would maybe rather than take up the space with these, I think I would probably just put on there um what your Facebook account is. So let's see. Oh, now did I get rid of all the boxes? Okay, that's fine. If you do that, you can always just add a text box. We'll just put a little bit of body text. And let me move it over here. And I probably want to match like whatever this Montserrat Classic, we're going to match that here. There we are. Okay. And I don't think we want it bold. Okay. And maybe a little smaller. We'll see. Okay, there we go. Okay. So now over here, you could put like let's say, okay, we have a website. Well, you probably don't have to label it as a website. It's pretty identifiable that way. So it would be Twin Pines soap.com. I had to make sure I had the right first name. Oh, not Twin Pines, Twin Pines. There we go. twinpinesoap.com. And then you could just label it as Facebook. Like we have a Facebook page, and that handle is Twin Pines Soap. And then if you have some other social media or some other ways that you'd like them to be able to connect with you, you could put that there as well. Now, because I had to monkey with this box, I'm going to need to adjust it a little bit again. There we go. I'm going to see if I can. There we are. It needs to be left justified because all the rest of these are as well. This doesn't look quite the same as this, but you just need to monkey around with that to get those to match, and that should work out pretty good. There we go. All right. So this is the beginning of a soap label for your business. And I mean, we created this in what, like 5 minutes, you know. Now you're going to need to make sure that all of this information is accurate. Make sure that you've got, information that is accurate for your business. But also, like I said, go through that label with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure that any wording that they've put on there, don't assume that because this person is a graphic designer, that they know anything about soap making. You have to make this label accurate for your business, and also so that it is legally compliant. They have no idea about that. So that's on you to make sure those things are there and readable, and that you've got your information in good order there. But that's how you get started making a soap label for your soaps. Now let me, oops, I lost my little controls here. Hang on just a second. There we are. All right. Yes, I just had to go through and make sure I hadn't missed a piece. Make sure you've made those changes first, because if you have to make that net weight bigger, it might crowd other things. Or if you have to make those ingredients bigger, just make sure you've thought about how much space those are going to take up when they're the correct size, and then make the other changes so that you've got a label that has all the information it needs without looking crowded and cluttered, and I'm just like everything's kind of jammed in there. So this is a super easy way to get your soap label designed literally today. At least you have a starting spot. I know I said before, I'm graphic design challenged. I always feel like anything I create looks like a third grade art project. And but for you, we want you to be able to move forward with no worries. This way you can have your soap label looking sleek and professional in no time. And even more importantly, it will be done. And if this is something that you've struggled with for a while, that might be the most important part of this. So enjoy looking at Etsy, learning Canva, and just getting those two pieces to come together to get your soap label done. Could be literally today. So enjoy that part. In our next video, we're going to show you how to print your soap labels. You have them designed and looking lovely. They look great, but now what? How do you transfer that lovely label onto your soap? We're going to dive into that in our next video. I'll see you there.